Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here, SouthernIndianaWeather.com, bringing you the latest long-range update. The holidays are now over. We've begun a new year, second month of meteorological winter. We didn't get that much snow here in southern Indiana. Northern and central Indiana sort of hogged most of it, but we do have some chances coming up. There's a storm coming up this weekend we're going to talk about. There's another little clipper system moving through tomorrow night. So we're going into kind of an active period again. Most of this week is going to be dry. But as I'm going to show you, a very active period is coming up. First off, let's talk about the short term. Here's the high-res NAM and what it sees. There's some snows moving across Illinois during the overnight hours tonight. Now, tomorrow, we may have some snow showers to deal with. It's going to stay very cold. But you notice here that the high-res NAM does give us just the slightest little indications here of a few snow showers breaking out across the area. And I think it's got a pretty good idea on placement. You've got some pretty decent lake effect snow going on up there as well. But by and large for us, you know, an area sort of like this is where I think the best potential for those snow showers are going to be. But I would not rule out a few snow showers coming back into here, but anything that you would get with a light coating is probably going to be over in here, and it would just be more isolated. Over into here, now we do have plenty of energy that's rolling through. If we sort of take a look at and watch this energy roll through, what you've got going on, there it is. There the little front moves through, and you've got some energy behind this with upper level support sort of area wide here. So again, I do think that there is a possibility that we could see some snow showers all across the area. But again, I think the very best region to see those snow showers would be in this, and then, you know, maybe more like this in more of a secondary region. We'll put a question mark on that there. I would not rule out a snow shower with it, but certainly some snow showers looking pretty likely. And this would happen Wednesday afternoon, as I said, so this is not going to be an overnight event. It's going to stay cold tomorrow, so whatever does fall down will stick. Not a big event, but a light coating, even maybe a ½ inch in some parts, could be possible for you where these do fall. Now then, just all this to say, we got more coming on the way too. It's going to be a very cold week. In fact, if I just go ahead and take you to my 7-day forecast. By the way, you can always get the other updated one. You go to SouthernIndianaWeather.com, click on 7-day forecast. There your updated one will all be. And as you can see, folks, it's going to be stinking cold this week. Single-digit lows, mostly as far as the eye can see. Up to maybe 25 tomorrow with those snow showers, but then we go crash right back down into the teens, and then we start to warm up again for the weekend. We've got some rain here to deal with for the weekend. That could also be some ice, and so we're going to have to watch that. The GFS and the Euro not in overly great agreement on this. If we sort of put this into motion, you notice you got a pretty nice winter storm taking place up here along the East Coast. Really, you need to kind of get that out of the way first before we can get the modeling to handle our section right, because the slightest little variation in track on this will directly affect it for over us. You also need our storm to get on shore first, and it's not yet. And so here you go though, and there it is coming in on Sunday afternoon. Now it develops a low pressure here. Right around the panhandle of Oklahoma, and what it's going to do is simply try to eject that in some form our way. And you sort of watch this and watch the GFS. What it does is develop it into rain, and that's a cold rain for us. It would take us into the mid-30s for temperatures if this were the case. I'm very skeptical of that, though. I'm not skeptical of the liquid precipitation. I think that's a good bet on there, because if I were to take you, and let me go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and take you into the upper levels of the atmosphere here and sort of look at what we've got going on here. Let's put this into motion there. That clipper comes out of the way. Here comes our system digging down in here, right in here, to make us some weather with that. And sort of notice with me where the angle is. In the upper levels of the atmosphere, you've got temperature, you got warm air being sort of pumped in this way rather than from up here. And so you've got that warmer, moist air that's going to be pumped up into here. And so, well, as a result of that, you're going to warm up at some point in time in the atmosphere. So, you know, if we were to go to you know, let's just, I click on the wrong one here, thermodynamics. Here we go. If we just look at, I don't want temperature anomaly, I want actual temperature. There we go. get the right one. I should have had this loaded on. So if I look at this here for you, what you see with this storm is we've got the freezing line in the upper levels of the atmosphere well to our north during this. And so here it comes. Let me just sort of back this up in time, and here's where we're at during this week. Some very cold temperatures up into here, but watch as that moist air, that warm air gets pumped in. There comes the line sort of retreating up in there. The Arctic air makes a comeback after that, but for this storm ejecting from the southwest up towards us, it warms us enough that, you know, you go above freezing in the upper levels of the atmosphere. By upper levels, I'm saying 850 millibar level, so you're about 4,000 feet up, 4,000 to 6,000 feet up. Right around in there is where you're going to have the precipitation starting to form and falling, and it's falling in a liquid form whenever you get it to this. Problem is, if you look at our surface temperatures, that's going to be the issue. You notice that during this time, your surface temperatures are barely above freezing. I think this could be a real problem with the model, because here you go. You got cold surface temperatures, and watch how fast this retreats. So this is Friday morning. We're waking up to a low of around 4 degrees across the area here. By that afternoon, we're into the teens, and then look at this. We're back down to single digits again Saturday morning. But then, very quickly, you pump up temperatures into the 30s by Sunday. And so this would have, 37 across southern Indiana on Sunday, and then even into the 40s maybe for Monday. Honestly, that may be wishful thinking. The reality is that cold air like that at the surface is very hard to push out of the way. It's more dense, it's more weighty. Warm air can come in, but it doesn't erode it very fast. What happens is warm air comes in and it sort of rides over the top of that cold, dense air. And so you can get warm on the upper levels of the atmosphere far faster than you can the colder levels. This is a classic setup for an ice storm, folks. I mean, it's not something I want. I'm not really wanting to forecast ice. I hate forecasting ice. It's my least favorite thing to do in meteorology. But the reality is this is a setup for that. Whenever you get that overrunning precipitation and it warms up to a liquid, surface temperatures don't catch up as fast. Now, do I think that we'll go above freezing? I don't think that we'll stay below freezing for the duration of the event. That's not likely with the way this setup looks to me. But warming up to the 40s on Monday, I'm skeptical of that. Upper 30s, that might be more doable, but this isn't going to erode as fast. And at the very beginning of the event, where it says it is 37 here for southern Indiana on Sunday afternoon, I'm skeptical of that. That's probably a bit too warm. It may be more like 30 to 34 across the area. That would seem more reasonable to me at this point, because again, that colder air is much harder to move. So that's something that we're going to have to watch out for. And again, if I just sort of show you this, it shows you it stays all in liquid form on this run. In fact, it doesn't give anybody really snow around here. Even northern Indiana barely gets much of anything with this particular run of the GFS. Now, the Euro catches on to this idea too. So here we go. Through this week, we're coming into this weekend. There it starts to develop. Notice it catches on to the idea. It starts to put a little mix in the pink across the area first. I think it's getting the idea right. And most of the time, the Euro does, frankly, a better job than our American GFS does anyway. It's catching on to that idea, but then what you see going forward through there is it transitions us to rain eventually. You notice that it doesn't bring a whole lot of snow across Indiana as well, maybe for the northern at the very beginning, but it melts away pretty fast with rain on the Euro model. Tries, as the cold air crashes in on the backside, to change it to some snow, but we'll have to see about that. And it's pretty consistent in this idea. One model run prior, it did this. It caught on with this idea of some freezing rain there. It gave northern Indiana a pretty good little amount of snow with that before it transitioned to all rain for that as well. And then this particular run follows it sort of with a 1-2 punch with a little clipper system diving down on Tuesday. So rain, ice, something in there on Sunday and Monday, and then a clipper system on Tuesday. So, next week, very early on, could be a very active time period. Now, if you're wanting to say, well, what are we going to get? Folks, I can't tell you right now at this point. I can tell you it looks like the moisture is probably going to change it over to a liquid. But whether the surface temperatures go above freezing or we get ice out of this, I can't tell you this far out, folks. If I were you and you're on your trip to the grocery store this week, I'd go ahead and buy some ice melt. Because in probably 60-70% of situations like this, we see some ice out of this. All right. Don't think it stays ice the entire weekend, but I'll be surprised if we don't get some ice out of this somewhere in that. Is that down here in southern Indiana? Is that a little bit more north of us? It just depends on how fast the cold air is pushed out of the way by this warm air, and there's just no way at this point to sort of know that. And by the way, behind this system, just to show you here, we've got another system rolling through here on next Friday as well, so a week and a half away. So you got this storm system this weekend to mess with, another Clipper system next week behind that, and by the end of next week, you could have another system. The Euro is suggesting here on this particular run is suggesting it starts off as some ice. That's last night's run. If I go to today's run and just continue putting it in motion for you, it catches this as well, and it sees it as rain for us. But it does have an ice component and snow component with it to the north of us as well. So again, this is way far away, and neither one of these are probably right this far out. They never are this far out, but the idea is something is there, and we got a pretty active time to be able to track with these. Temperatures, though, what are we going to get? The cold, folks, I think it's going to stick around for a while. I really do, as we kind of point towards later on in January. Euro weeklies, this is week 1. There's week 2. It's still cold. Week 3, it's still cold out there. Week 4, it tries to moderate us. But honestly, if I were to show you some previous runs of this, it tried to moderate us a long time ago and never came. So the question is the moderation period to above normal temperature ever going to come? I'm really skeptical of January, frankly, at this point. Let me just take you to the CPC's website for you. Here we go. Let me take you to the CPC's website. I should have brought these up here for you, but let's look at what they're doing right now. Just to give you an idea, they're saying below normal the rest of January for us. So the CPC is kind of on board with this below normal temperature scheme as well. And I think that's a pretty reasonable bet. I really do think that that is probably going to hold. You know, the Euro weeklies keep trying to push this warmer air in, and it just never comes. That's not to say we won't moderate. I do think we're going to moderate, but we're not going to moderate overly far. All right, so you know, if I take you back here to the data, just looking at the Euro ensembles does show a moderation period coming. But your highest in there is 46, and I'm skeptical of it getting that warm. You're still getting low 40s, upper 30s, and then, you know, a return to some colder temperatures here as well. Well, I'll take that over, you know, the single digits any day and any time, don't get me wrong, but that's not overly warm, all right? Now, the Euro itself is trying to take us into the upper 40s. Be very skeptical of that because the GFS completely disagrees in that time frame. Let me show you why I think that the Euro is kind of wrong on that. I think we do moderate. I don't think we're going to get incredibly warm. Folks, here's the reason why. First off, you got an East-Pacific oscillation that's going down into the negative. Now, the skill on this model is not real great because all these bubbles are here, these previous ones, are previous forecasts. And you can see that, frankly, the GFS has just stinking struggled with this. The latest forecast, though, is to keep it pretty much negative for as far as the eye can see here for a little while. As a result of that, the Arctic oscillation stays negative as well. That's cold air from Canada being pumped down. North Atlantic, we get a little bit of blocking here into the negative as well. That's going to keep the AO continuing negative for a while. Whenever that stays in the negative, your PNA stays positive, so that's a ridge in the west, trough in the east. It's all favorable for a cold setup for us. It really is. The data is there, frankly, for a very cold setup for us coming in here. That's not to say that we can't moderate some. Again, I think we will. I don't think that we're going to stay ridiculously cold the entire month. It's hard to stay 30 to 40 degrees below normal for you know, a sustained period of time. But an average high here for southern Indiana right now is 40 and a low is around 23. So in the 30s and 20s, that's still below normal. And I think that's where we're going to end up with a lot this month. I really do. Let me show you the reason why. Let's just take a look up here at the North Pacific, and I'm just going to show you, folks, here just very quickly for the next minute or so. There's a lot of action coming on. You're looking at the jet stream up here, and what happens up here, it's going to happen downstream. Just take a look at this. So you've got a stormy pattern here up in the Bering Sea. You've got there's one storm rolling through here. It lasts for a good little while. There's another storm rolling through here. There's another storm right behind it, and another storm comes up sort of right behind it, and another one's on the way there. Folks, that's all going to have implications downstream. So you get these wave breaks coming up in here, and by wave breaks, what you're doing is you're breaking a zonal flow into the jet stream, and you're getting an amplified flow. And so if I just sort of take us all back here, watch the effects on this downstream. So you get something up here, and you'll get it downstream. And so we moderate maybe just a little bit, but then watch that. Once you moderate, boom, there comes another cold. There comes another trough right down here after that, followed by another one after that. A moderation period maybe for a little bit, followed by more. Here's another reason I think that we're going to get in with that. Not only are we looking at the Bering Sea, which remember that if we follow the Bering Sea rule, what's going on here in the Bering Sea right above the Aleutian Islands, that happens to us about 20 days later here in the United States. East Asia rule, what happens over the Korean Peninsula here in East Asia, that's what's going to happen about 5 to 10 days later. There's a trough coming through right there. There's a moderation period with it coming. There's another trough sort of coming down here, and it sustains for a while. A little bit of a moderation period here coming. There's more on the way, and so all of our data here is suggesting basically an active pattern. You're going to have an active pattern set up, really, I think, through much of January. And so as a result of this, very quickly, let me just go back to the GFS and sort of show you this once again. So that storm, as I showed you this weekend, rolls out of the way. The GFS sees it as well. High pressure comes in. We might warm up just briefly by this, but watch this. You get another storm system coming in. This is for the 13th. That could be rain, that could be snow. The positioning of this, who knows at this point. And then behind that, guess what? There's more clippers coming on up to our north. See, there's a clipper there. That's fast moving. There's another fast moving clipper there. You got more storms rolling down and through here. The rest of the month is going to be like that. Don't think that you're going to have all of these major big storms coming up out of the southwest. I think you're going to face a lot of clipper systems again, and you know as well as I do, with these clipper systems, that's going to be hard to get snow off of. You'll get them originating up into here. Sometimes they'll go like this. Sometimes they'll angle more like this. It's very hard to get them to angle down here into southern Indiana. Oftentimes they sort of go like this before getting sucked up and through there. And so if you want my opinion as to where an active period is going to go, I sort of think right up in here is going to be your active snow zone in January. I really do. That's not to say that southwest Indiana, that we won't get any, but I'll be honest with you folks, for us here in southwest Indiana, I think it's going to be hard too with this pattern that we're in. I really do. Just think you're going to be dominated by a lot of clipper systems that continue to miss us, and the storm systems that are coming out of here are going to tend to bring us more rain or ice than they will snow. That's the way I see it right now. I wish things were different. I'd like some snow, but I'm giving you my honest thoughts. So there you go, folks. That's kind of a January outlook of what to expect. That's it for this long-range update, folks. I don't want to get it too long. I'm already at 16 minutes, and that's probably long enough for you. I'll have another one of these updates for you sometime down the line, and as we get a little bit closer to this weekend, keep it tuned onto my blog over at southernindianaweather.com. I have a daily blog there, and my long-range updates are there for you as well, and I will post some daily thoughts there for you to keep up with. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite, southernindianaweather.com. Have a great day, folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.